Hello, everybody. Welcome into episode 2 of Cardinals Plus. I'm Corey Miller.
And I'm Ahmad Hicks.
Cardinals are getting closer and closer to migrating north for the 2021 baseball season, but for now, they're still down in Jupiter rounding into shape, and we've got a lot to talk about halfway through the spring training season, so let's get into it. First off, let's lead off like we like to do on the show in our second episode, and we'll talk about some of the guys who've impressed so far about halfway through spring training. I got 3 guys I'll talk about, then Ahmad's got 3 guys he's going to talk about. I'll go first. My first guy, the obvious one if you've watched any of the games, Tyler O'Neill. We've seen it in flashes, and this is a flash still, and it's a spring training flash, so that counts even less. We know the Gold Glove is there, and we know the power can be there, but now it all kind of looks like it's there, at least for this time in spring training. We're recording this on Wednesday. The Cardinals are playing right now, actually, as we record this. But before this game on Wednesday, O'Neill's hitting .500 in spring training. Some of that power he's showing off. He's got a couple of home runs. He's also hitting the ball to all fields. He's got 2 opposite, I think both of his home runs are to the opposite field, which you wouldn't have expected from him normally. So those are really good signs. I think he's definitely the talk of camp from an offensive side. Excited to see if that can come north. And that's really what it's all about, isn't it, Ahmad?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this guy, he's shown flashes throughout the past couple of seasons that he can be this guy if he's given 100 and 200 plus at bats where he can go out there and hit for power. And I think that's what you want to see. You want to see him lower that strikeout rate just a little bit, get a couple more walks, but obviously hit the ball and hit it with power. Hopefully he doesn't knock out the M in Big Mac land or anything like that.
The other guy who's really been the talk from the pitching side, and this is no surprise, he's actually pitching in the game right now that we're recording over top of, and he's doing amazing again, at least in the first couple innings I saw, is Adam Wainwright, who is going to be the oldest the oldest player in the National League like he was last year, 39. He's going to turn 40 in the middle of the year. He looks like he's 29 years old. Before the game today on Wednesday, he's pitched 9 innings, given up just 1 run, 2 hits. He looks like the ace, and that's comforting when some of the other guys haven't looked that great.
I think what you're seeing right now is experience. He's coming into camp and he's ready to go. He's game shape. He's in mid-season form, as we like to say as sportscasters. And I think that's just guys of having experience of keeping their bodies prepared all off season long. So you don't really have to get ready as long as you stay ready. And I think that's what we're seeing with Waino right now.
He knows this song and dance. He knows what he's got to do. Just get him on a regular season mound yesterday. Okay, my third guy, not the most well-known guy, and he's he's not going to make the opening day roster. Tommy Parsons, relief pitcher. You've probably seen him. He's pitched quite a bit. He's only 25. So far in spring, he's allowed just 4 hits, no runs through 8 1/3 innings while walking just 1 batter. He struck out 7 guys. This is a guy probably a lot of casual fans don't know about, but there's always injuries to pitching for sure, and that's going to come up. Even if it's not that serious, you're going to see a bunch of relievers cycled in through the year. Keep an eye on Tommy Parsons. He's had a really nice spring training so far. Ahmad, who do you got?
Well, I'm going to start with Alex Reyes. I mean, first you have this guy who was supposed to be this superstar pitcher, just save us from all of our miseries, and then he gets hurt, and he has all these problems going on. Tommy John surgery. Then he comes back from that. Then he has a lat injury. Then, he comes back, doesn't start well last season, goes down to the AAA, a couple seasons ago, punches a wall. And so he's just not really in his groove. But now he follows that up with this spring training, 4 games, 5 innings, 7 Ks, only 2 hits, no earned runs. This is what you want to see from Alex Reyes. This is the guy who they say they're going to cap at 100 innings this year. That's okay. Put him at the back end of that bullpen and let him be the closer. That's what he may be. You don't want to put too much stress on Jordan Hicks right there in that position. So let Reyes do that. I don't think he gets to 100 innings being a closer. You can minimum it, and maybe 50, something like that for the minimum. So I think that's safe for him, and I think this is a guy who we should all be rooting for, right, Cor?
Well, I'm the conductor on the Alex Reyes hype train, so I am so excited for him in 2021. However they're going to use him, I think it'd be interesting. We don't know what we're going to get out of Carlos Martinez. You have Carlos start off a few innings, have Reyes ready to piggyback that for a couple before you can get into guys like Gallegos and Cabrera and Miller in the back end of the bullpen. But however they use him, he's going to be tough to hit. We've seen that already.
And one other guy that I want to talk about being tough to hit, not being tough to hit, but Andrew Kisner, this guy, Yadier Molina, he's been doing well at the plate this spring training. He's batting above 300, but so is Andrew Kisner. They have the same amount of hits right now. And I think what he's doing is showing his work. Like, I know Yadi is the everyday guy. He's going to play, 6 games out of 7. But he's showing that when I fill in, I'll be ready to go. He may not be as smart as Yadi behind the plate yet, but I think he's showing everybody in Cardinals Nation that he's ready to fill those shoes whenever Yadi decides to hang up the cleats.
We already had to see Carson Kelly go away because Yadi just kept playing. I was worried we were going to have to see Andrew Kisner go away because Yadi just kept playing. But no Matt Wieters this year. Kisner's the backup. Hopefully Yadi takes a few days off and when they get to work Kisner in a little more and get him ready for when he's going to be the guy, whether that's next year or 2 years, whenever it is. But, Kisner's definitely got a bright future. Looking really good so far.
And fans, you can calm down. I know everybody wants to hear about Nolan Oronato. Here he is. He's my player to watch out for this year. No home runs this spring training. That should not scare you whatsoever. It is spring training. It's only a small sample size of what's to come this year. What we have seen is him flash the leather. That's what we expected him to do when he came over and to play third base. So I think what you're seeing is the guy he's hitting well. He's hitting decently, not up to his standards, I'm sure, but it's spring training. Everything will pan out, and this guy will be the guy we all wanted him to be the last 2 years for us. So now he's here. We just have to be patient.
His at-bats have been a lot of fun, and he's done some of the little things, like he's taken the ball the other way quite a lot, which Cardinal fans love, and shows he's really starting to dial in. And speaking of the little things, Oronato has been raving about his new franchise and how they really focus on those little things. Here's what he had to say about that specifically this past week at spring training.
Yeah, I mean, obviously where I was before, we took care of the details and did those things, but here, we go over them, a lot, and they don't like to leave, any turns unnoticed. So, that's a credit to them, and obviously, this team's, I think last year or the year before, they finished, top in defense of teams, and they take pride in all the little things. So, I'm definitely excited to be a part of that.
Well, as we move closer to the season, it looks increasingly likely we're going to be down 2 starters for the Cardinals that they were counting on at least going into the year. Miles Mikolas and Kwang Young Kim both look like they're not going to be ready. Mikolas for sure. Kim has had not quite a serious setback. It looks like they're not too concerned with him. But it looks like John Gann and Daniel Ponce de Leon are going to slot in there along with Carlos Martinez when we thought maybe just be one of these guys getting a spot to start the year. Ahmad, is that kind of what they got to do at this point? How do you see that?
I mean, they have no other option. I mean, where can you go with this type of situation? You don't really see yourself losing 2 starters in the middle of spring training. I mean, right before the season is about to start. We all knew that they had to fill that 5th role. Now you're having to fill that 3rd and 5th role, 3 through 5 pretty much, 4 through 5. So, I mean, it's tough. I mean, what else do you do? I mean, you think about Alex Reyes, but you can't throw his arm out before the season really gets going, so you have no choice. And I think John Gann, he's a guy that'll eat up some minutes. He's a guy who really, really wants to be in that position in the starting rotation. So I think he'll be highly motivated to begin the season. And then Daniel Ponce de Leon, he's shown in the past that he's capable of being a big league pitcher. It's just a matter of doing it on a consistent basis. And I think that's what he may be out to prove. And who knows, if they do well, then you have more competition, and competition just breeds better atmosphere around the stadium and around the dugout. And everybody wants to do well,
I'm a really big Ponce guy too, and his strikeouts per 9 innings are just insane. But the walks have got to come down, and he does get hit hard every once in a while. But I am very excited to see him get a shot here to open the year. Hopefully, not official yet, but all signs are kind of pointing that way. And as far as Mikolas and Kim go, I don't know how many times the Cardinals have started camp, a pitcher, it's just no big thing, just a little tweak or something here or there, and then all of a sudden they're out for the year. So, and it's not quite that bad yet. We haven't heard that. It's just a couple little setbacks so far with Kim and Mikolas. But man, every time I hear a Cardinal pitching injury during spring training, I get really nervous. So these other guys better be ready, because there's a decent chance they're going to be called on for quite a bit this year. Let's move on. Go on if you got something else.
I was just going to say the Cardinals are just going to, lean heavily on Jack Flaherty and Adam Wainwright to begin the season and, to really be those horses that we hope they can be. And, Carlos Martinez, if he can be the tsunami wave that, he was a couple of years ago, I think we should be in good shape, especially with the addition of Oronato and Goldschmidt and Carlson, if those bats live up to the hype, I think they'll be able to survive maybe the first couple of months without those 4 and 5 guys.
Let's move on. Lastly, on our leading off segment, we got to talk about one of the most epic at-bats in baseball history that just happened to occur in spring training. I was watching this live, and I did not get up because I had to see how it was going to end. Jordan Hicks, 22 pitches against the Mets' Luis Guillorme this past weekend. Hicks' first official in-game action since 2019 and Tommy John surgery. And, you know, Mike Schilt trotting him out there hoping to see what he's got. And, of course, he faces one batter that takes 22 pitches on him. The longest at-bat on record since they started tracking this in 1988. I mean, it's just, baseball is weird. And, of course, it happened to Jordan Hicks.
Yeah, and that's the last guy you want to see something like that happen with. But what we all have to remember is Jordan Hicks could have came back last season, but he opted out due to COVID. So what we have to remember is this guy, he's ready to pitch. And I think he proved that the other day going 22 pitches. Now, as fans and a manager and ownership, do you want to see this guy doing that in spring training? Absolutely not. But you know what? It's a show of what's to come. In the future. And I think this guy is back. His stuff looked good. And who doesn't want to see him, in the middle of the bullpen or, in the final innings, 7, 8, 9, setting up Alex Reyes. I mean, can you imagine how electric Busch Stadium would be with those two guys at the end of the game?
Andrew Miller, who's been around a long time and has pitched in some amazing bullpens with the Yankees and the Indians, said, yeah, there's a very real chance this is the most talented bullpen he's ever been in. So definitely right on there. Now, Hicks had 6 pitches over 100 miles per hour in that 22-pitch at-bat. Pretty much all of them were in the high 90s. I think more than half were in the high 90s. And this wasn't his – so he pitched in a B game in the backfields against Washington where I think he had a perfect inning. Nobody actually got to see that, though. So this is the first time anybody saw him in person since 2019, and of course that's how it goes. And it was a walk, which we didn't mention yet. So props to
forget about that. Who cares about that?
Props to the Mets guy, man. I mean, it was fun watching all the players because you can just tell something crazy's starting. It just building and building. Once you get past that like 12 pitch range, and it just keeps going. The dugouts start all coming up and wanting it to go on and on. It was just a fun moment, especially for spring training when things can be a little bit boring.
All right, switching gears, we're going to try a new segment for our second show. This one is called Down the Farm. So we'll try and do our best to showcase someone in the farm system who's been doing a stellar job throughout spring training and someone that fans at home want to see about, potentially for the future. So the first person we're going to spotlight for this segment is Nolan Corbin. He was drafted to play third base for the Cardinals, but obviously we have Nolan Oronato now playing third base. So what does this mean? He says he's taking reps at second base. He says he'll pick up a glove and go to the outfield, although no one has asked him to do that. Corey, what do you think the future is for this guy, and what have you been impressed with so far during spring training?
Well, before we talk about his future, let's talk about the Oronato trade, because that's so linked into this, and how the Cardinals somehow even managed to get Oronato without giving up Nolan Corbin, which surprised pretty much everybody, and it kind of shook up Gorman's world too. Here's what his initial reaction was to when the Cardinals got Nolan Oronato.
Yeah, it's obviously you want to, that's where I wanted to play, and things don't go your way all the time, so you got to adjust to it and be able to strive wherever you are and help the team win. And ultimately it's about helping the team win, and adding that bat to the lineup and that defense from Oronato is gonna obviously take the team to another level. So I was just excited I got to play with that guy rather than against him, and him help out the big team, hopefully win a championship.
So obviously Gorman's saying all the right things. He's going to fit in wherever the Cards want him. But here's a guy who's got like crazy power. He has 31 home runs, 106 RBIs in his minor league career, projecting to be a plus offensive guy. We saw him just frozen rope a double the other day in spring training that the sound off the bat was incredible, driving in Dylan Carlson, which was kind of a cool glimpse into the future. He's been playing second base, working with Jose Oquendo, down in spring training. If anybody can teach somebody to play the infield at a different spot, it's Oquendo. But it's going to be really interesting with him. Like I said, I can't believe the Cardinals still have him. I don't know why the Rockies didn't make it, okay, you can get Nolan Oronato, but we have to get Nolan Gorman back. That's just terrible from a front office perspective, because that's what everybody, even the most reasonable-minded fan, knew. Okay, we're gonna have to, if we want Oronato, we're gonna have to give up our best third base prospect. Nope, he's still here. Now they just have to find a spot for him.
Yeah, whoever, made that decision for Colorado had a couple of cold ones up before they signed off on it. So, but we will thank them for that. We are not complaining about that. And this Nolan Gorman guy, I mean, don't you just love the competitive spirit? He says, Arenado's coming. He said, you know what? I'm not going to be okay with being a third baseman for long, because that means that I probably won't be playing there for another, 6 to 7 years if Arenado chooses to stay, or, he's going to be getting shipped elsewhere. So it's just like, he's like, what do I do to get on the field? Let me try and change my position. Let me go learn with one of the best around in Oquendo. And you have to love the competitive spirit and the juice he's showing right there, and the courage to say, hey, I'm embracing this role. I want to play for the Cardinals. Put me anywhere on the field. You have to love this guy. He seems like a team player.
He says he's got all of his gloves down there at spring training to play a bunch of different positions, but I have a theory that I'm very confident it's going to work out. He's a really tall dude, and he's going to look a little bit out of place at second base. I'm sure he can do it. Second base, mostly people think, is an easier place to defend than third base. Colton Long, I think, would beg to differ, and Colton Long made it look so easy. So I think Gorman can do it. I'm not really that pessimistic. I think he could be a fine second baseman, but I think by the time he gets here, it's not going to be this year. Probably won't be next year.
Maybe at the end of next year, he'll get an appearance.
September call up to off the bench bat, lefty bat off the bench if he really progresses. But I think in 2 years, in 2023, is what they're going to be shooting for him. And I think by 2023, it's a decent bet that the National League is going to have the designated hitter, which I don't totally like, and we don't have to get into that right now about all my curmudgeon-y old baseball things, but it's coming, and I think Nolan Gorman is going to be the DH for the Cardinals for quite a while once he gets here.
It's a lot of thump in the lineup. Can't wait.
All right, time for the red hot seat. Last week we dove into the Randy Arozarena trade. This week we're going to talk about second base. And with Colton Long gone, there's no real second baseman available right now. So the Cardinals are going to lean on a couple guys who played there before, who can play a lot of different positions. One guy who was really good back in the day and has, let's just say Cardinals fans have soured on him lately. That's a nice way of putting it. Ahmad and I have some differing opinions on who should start at second base. I'll let Ahmad lead it off here.
I'm going with Matt Carpenter. I know a ton of you are thinking, what are you talking about? Why Matt Carpenter? I just think this guy, he sees all the pieces around him right now, and it's clicking. He has to perform right now. He has to, if he wants to stay on this team and he wants to stay on the field. If he doesn't perform, if he strikes out at the rate he was doing the past couple of full seasons where he was averaging 100 plus strikeouts, he knows he's going to find himself on the bench. One way to play is to hit the ball to opposite field, which we know Matt Carpenter can do, is how consistent he can be at doing that. So I think if he shows he can hit the ball to opposite field and stop just driving it straight into right field into the shift, I think this guy will be a good second baseman, because no offense to Tommy Edman, he has more pop than Tommy Edman, and that's what you want in the lineup, somebody that can get those doubles and get those triples and get those home runs. And I think he just complements Arenado and Goldschmidt and DeYoung so much on that infield, but you can't rule out Edman, which I'm sure you're going to make a strong case for right now.
Well, last year, back when it was still going to be a full season, both myself and Frank Guzman, our sports director, were all aboard the Matt Carpenter comeback trail. I really thought he was going to have a great year. And then the season just got collapsed, and I'm sure that played a small role, at least a bit, but he was really bad last year, and he's been really bad in spring training, and it is spring training. It's not the regular season, but I don't think the Cardinals would have been comfortable letting Colton Long go unless they had Tommy Edman there, because I think this has been their plan all along to save money and put an Edman in there who they don't think they'll lose a whole lot from what Long gave them. Edman's a switch hitter. He's setting the world on fire in spring training right now. He's
Mm-hmm.
really fast. He's a lot faster than Carpenter. Probably, other than O'Neal, I would say Edmonds probably the second fastest guy on the team.
Better watch out for Harrison Bader. He's somewhere. He's going to come find
Yeah,
you.
I think I would put Harrison Bader third, though. Tyler O'Neal's definitely the fastest, which people might not think about, but Tyler O'Neal's definitely the fastest. Edmund, the only thing, and this goes kind of with both these guys, Edmund needs to take more walks, especially if he's hitting at the top of the order. He can't have an on-base percentage as low as he's had in the past. And Carpenter, that's something he used to do really well. He frustrated everybody because he went deep into those counts and a lot of times took strike threes looking. But a lot of times he got walked, and that was a huge part of his game, and he hasn't been nearly as good at it lately. And Edmund just kind of provides more. He doesn't provide more power, but if you got Oronato now, Goldschmidt, and if the young can come around, I don't need necessarily as much power at the top of the lineup. I need guys to get on base to score when the power guys are driving them in. So Edmund, I think, is my guy. That's what the Cardinals have kind of been going towards too, although Matt Carpenter's not going anywhere, folks.
No.
People are just calling for this guy to be shipped off or just dumped completely. That's not happening. He's got a lot of money on the books. He's built up a lot of goodwill. He's had a lot of good years, and they think maybe they can capture something in him. Like in 2018, he wasn't having that great of a year, and then for a month he just went berserk and was the best player in baseball. So Matt Carpenter's not going anywhere. He's definitely going to get his chances, but overall, give me Tommy Edman in second base.
Yeah, because you definitely want to see Matt Carpenter get more than 46 and 24 RBIs, what he had the past couple of seasons. So he definitely won't be playing a lot if he's hitting like that. But I do think he's a little motivated this season. He sees the writing on the wall. He knows the end is near. And I mean, Tommy Edman is pushing him every day, like you just said. But I think that guy knows that his window is shrinking. He has to perform now if he wants to stay here and keep playing. So I'm hopeful he pieces everything together. I'm hopeful. All right, time is winding down, so that leads us to our final segment, the time machine. I would give you something about my past that I know about Cardinals baseball, but Corey knows way more than I do. Even though I'm older than him, that guy, his brain just expands for Cardinals baseball. So Corey, take us inside your world and let us know what happened on this day back in the day.
All right, this week back in 1917, long time ago, over 100 years, Branch Rickey becomes the president of the Cardinals. Branch Rickey, obviously most known for when Jackie Robinson broke the Peller barrier in 1947 with the Brooklyn Dodgers. He was in charge of that. He signed Jackie Robinson, made sure to get him on the team there, break the Peller barrier. But he was not more influential, but also influential in St. Louis before he got to Brooklyn. Pretty much created the idea of the farm system as we know it right now, established feeder teams for the Cardinals, plucking best players for the majors, and helped the Cardinals become one of the premier teams in the 20s all the way to the 40s when he left and went to Brooklyn, winning some world championships and kind of just setting the way for how things are today in the minor leagues. Without Branch Rickey, who knows what we would have had. But the Cardinals really were the first team to have something like that, which is a really neat piece of baseball history that I like to bring up from time to time. So without the Cardinals, we wouldn't have maybe some of the minor league baseball like we know it today.
Hey, that was good information that we all needed to know. Corey, thanks for bringing that to our attention. And in the coming weeks, we're going to have to challenge you with some fans and put your baseball knowledge up against them. My money's on you, but we'll have to bring in some people that'll give you a run for your money. I'm sure they'll be ready to do that.
Now that you've talked me up so much, I'm going to fall flat on my face, but I appreciate it.
My money's on you. Don't worry, though. I win with you. I lose with you. I'm riding with you all the way.
I appreciate that, Ahmad. That'll do it for this week's episode of Cardinals Plus. For Ahmad Hicks, I'm Corey Miller. Thanks for stopping by and talking some cards with us. We'll hopefully see you at the ballpark soon.